Hey guys, Claire Chancellor here. Today, I want to guide you through a process that focuses on reducing that sense of loneliness. If you're somebody who has that need to fit in, craving that belonging, and just wanting that connection with your community, then today's process will definitely help you by reducing that need for connection, taking away that pressure, clearing away some of that fear of abandonment, and then just bringing you to that sense of peace and calm, where it's actually quite magnetic to draw people in. Those type of people that you actually want to connect in with. What I hear from my clients is that there's so much, people pleasing out there, low self-esteem, fear of rejection and abandonment, that these clients are just people pleasing and over giving. And the pattern that they're finding themselves in is that they attract in the takers. So then we get into those unhealthy relationships and the unhealthy attachments where the other person is more than willing to take. And yet, when it comes to you putting your hand up to needing to receive, those people are nowhere in sight. And so, from that pattern, we start to question ourselves, like, what's wrong with me? Like, what can I do? How can I help? What do I need to be to have those beautiful co-creative, collaborative friendships? So if you can relate to this narrative, I definitely want you to listen in and allow yourself the time to go through this process. Now, first, I just need to ask you some questions to help you get into that frame of mind, to access some of those limitations so that when we go into the process, it's right there at the surface for us to be able to get a different perspective. So just settling into this space, knowing that this time is just for you, and feel free to grab your journal if you want to write some notes. I just invite you to think back to a recent time when you felt that loneliness. And when you think back to that time, just take notice of how your body responds. Where are you holding on to that heaviness, that lack of connection, the loneliness, the need to fit in? Where is all of that sitting in the body? And as you connect to that, let's just check in. Do you notice if that feeling is hot or cold? Are there any colors connected to that feeling? Getting in touch with that feeling in the body, and as strange as it sounds, asking it, not you, what's its purpose for being in your body? This heavy energy that's titled loneliness, what's its purpose for being in you? And just notice that there's going to be a response, that first thing that comes to mind. If you've got that, that's great. And if you didn't get anything, don't worry about it. But getting that clarity sometimes helps to be able to go back to understand what's going on. When you think about this loneliness, this heaviness in the body, its purpose for being in you, I just want you to trust the first thing that comes to mind. How old were you when this feeling first came into you? And just noticing there's going to be an age that comes to mind. So, how old were you when you first experienced this loneliness? Now, today's process is using your active imagination. What we want to do is just to trust the first thing that comes to mind, trusting your intuition, and just allowing your unconscious mind to bring forward the answers to help release this loneliness. What I'm going to ask you to do is really quite simple. So, here in this space, I just invite you to close your eyes, allow yourself to discover something truly amazing about you and this little version of you who's been holding on to this yucky feeling for so many years. This feeling has been there waiting for you to learn something about it, and then once you get this aha, your body and mind and inner child can release it once and for all. So I just want you to imagine very quickly and easily that you move back in time all the way back through those years, back to that little version of you, that memory of when you first felt that sense of loneliness. And just noticing, are you inside or outside? Is it daytime or nighttime? Just magnetically drawing back to that moment in time when you first felt that loneliness. Just getting that snapshot of what was going on that caused you to feel that way. As you've got that, I want the adult you to imagine that you just float into that scene, that mama bear protective energy that you are. I want you to step into that scene, and I want you to kneel down to that little version of you, just freezing everything around you, just noticing it's just you and them in that moment. And I want you to let them know that they are not supposed to be okay with this loneliness and the yucky feelings. And checking in, is there anything that this little version of you needs? Knowing that they trust you, what I want you to do is just to take them by the hand, and I want you to guide them into a beautiful movie cinema. You guys have the golden ticket, and as you enter this cinema, this place is just for you. As you hold onto the hand of that little version of you walking into the cinema, notice the colours, the sounds, the scent of popcorn, and the two of you choose a seat in the middle row. Sitting down, feeling the fabric, getting really comfortable. I want you to understand that all of these experiences that we've had in life are like chapters. They all have a beginning and an end. And that all of these movies do have a clear start and a clear finish. In a moment, not now, that movie is going to start, and it's going to be a snapshot of that situation in the past that caused you to feel lonely. And that's it. There's just going to be that picture of you plodding along in life. Something's happened, and now there's that sense of loneliness. So as you sit comfortably in the middle row, the movie begins, and you can start to reflect on your journey. Noticing there's that you on the screen, plodding along through life. Something's happened, and now there's that sense of loneliness. There's that sense of isolation, and there's that sense of questioning yourself, how do I fit in? Whether this was a recent childhood memory or one that's quite ancient, whatever comes to mind will be absolutely perfect. As that movie plays from the beginning to the end, I want you to take in a breath. And as crazy as it sounds, I now want you to allow that movie to play backwards. So we're just going to hit rewind from the end of that movie. So everyone's talking backwards, walking backwards, zipping through that chapter of life, all the way back to the beginning, just to be there where you were just plodding along in life. As we've observed that, I want you to know that we're about to do a bit of a life review on that chapter. But before we hit play and watch that movie again, we're going to set the intention to look at this movie and this chapter to gain a different perspective. This movie of that moment where you first felt loneliness is going to play, but this time I want you to notice what you did and how did you show up. What was going on for your body? How did you sacrifice to fit in? Or what were you doing to, fit in, or following other people's shoulds? Like, what were you doing in this scenario that allowed you to just have that sense of loneliness? So, in a moment, not now, that movie's going to play again, and we're just going to start to take notice of some of the patterns of what you did, how you showed up, and what was missing for for you to then have that lack of connection and that loneliness. So here we go, let's press play, and having that movie come back up again, watching that movie play from the beginning to the end, watching it. And as you get to the end, push stop. Feeling that relief and noticing that that movie was a chapter in your life so long ago. While that time felt really challenging, I want you to notice that as we sit here in the movie cinema, that we get our attention all the way back in the cinema, that there's that projector room. With everything we've now witnessed and observed, and all of the emotions that are now at the surface, I want you to find yourself getting up out of that middle row, holding onto the hand of that little version of you, and moving back to that projector room. As the door opens, I want you to be surprised by the number of guides and energy and beings that are bustling in the background there in that projector room. They're preoccupied with conversations and planning and analyzing multiple perspectives of your life. These are your guides, and they're here providing that emotional support, that comfort, helping you revisit these difficult moments and these challenging memories. As we're there in that projector room, I want you to notice that there's that guide that steps forward to better help you unpack those lessons that you learnt from that moment. Just allow that guide to step forward and feel their compassion, feel their enthusiasm to help you gain this clarity. And as that guide steps forward, I want you to notice that there are some learnings waiting for you to get so that we can start to release the intensity of that old event down there. So the first thing that comes to mind, what did you learn from that moment in time, from that sense of loneliness? Thinking about how you may have made yourself small, may have adjusted yourself to keep the peace, may have restricted your energy and gone quiet. What have you learnt from showing up in such a way? And knowing that these guides have been there, holding the energy, holding that space for you to have this human experience. What were you supposed to teach others from stepping back? Now that you no longer have to conform or change who you are according to everybody else's shoulds and everybody else's rules, you are no longer a child, which means that there are new choices available to you, new freedom, new perspectives, new opportunities to look at things in a new light. So with that in mind, I want you to notice that that guide gestures with their hand and points to a door that's going to lead you into a new cinema. As we move into that cinema, I want you to notice that there's a new movie playing, and the guides want to sit with you and watch that movie together. Feeling that co-creation, that collaboration, and that creative energy from your guides, I want you to notice that that movie begins, and it's a new point of view, a new choice on how you can be, how you show up in your life. And as that movie starts to play out from the beginning to the end, noticing how you hold your head up high, those shoulders back, and that you have permission to show up with that authentic truth of yours. You no longer have to hold on to that old loneliness. You've learnt what you need to, and you can't go back the way that it was. So what I want you to do one more time is to go back to that projector room, disconnect the old movie from the past, the old lonely one. And I want you to be able to take that out of that cinema, out of that movie. And then I want you to find yourself and that little version of you coming out of that cinema, seeing that beautiful starlit sky. And because we can, I want you to find yourself floating up higher and higher with that reel, with that old movie, floating up higher and higher. And I want you to find yourself getting ready to completely smash out this old way, that old loneliness, that old questioning of yourself, the old guarded, yucky, people-pleasing, limited energy. So in 3, 2, 1, smashing out that old movie, just clear and transmute in all times, dimensions, and frequencies, and seeing that old story just completely shatter out of your existence. Look at that little version of you and see the glee they have on their face that they no longer have to live to that old, trapped, heavy feeling. See that sense of energy just completely expand out of your heart and the heart of that little version of you, freeing up new space for the new way forward, free to be you. So with that in mind, as you're floating up there amongst the stars, I invite you to float along your time stream into the future. And I invite you to float into the future about a week or 2 from now, and looking upon yourself down there and seeing what's different. Now that you have that clarity, now that you have that permission to create those collaborative, healthy relationships, knowing that you belong wherever you go, I want you to notice that version of you down there, and that harmony, that fulfillment, that satisfaction they have to say yes to things that are empowering and uplifting. Checking in, what do you have to believe about yourself to have that type of confidence? Oh, incredible stuff. So with that in place, it's now time to journey back to this now moment, bringing with you those aha moments, that new way forward, that clarity, that head held high kind of energy, and start to journey and travel all the way back to this now moment we call reality. Starting to journey back into the body as that energy starts to get you to emerge back to this now moment. I want you to notice as you start to wiggle those fingers and toes, heart rate back to normal, head held high, and when you're ready, opening your eyes to a whole new you. Awesome. Now, this was a group process, right? So it's not specifically for just you. There may be more layers that need to be unpacked, or you may just be feeling that clarity and lightness, like, woohoo, what else is possible? Now is a really good time to have that drink of water, maybe going for a walk, or even having that heavy meal. Some people like to journal, but now is the time to really reflect on what you can do differently now that you no longer have those blinders up and you can see life through a new point of view. This is when you need to prove to your unconscious mind that things are changing. And so that when you have the opportunity to step into a new group or a new community or a meeting, that you make the decision to show up differently. Many times that's just about showing up with different questions and engaging with people differently. But this is where you need to trust yourself, show up differently, be the friend that you want to have for yourself so that you magnetically draw in the type of connection that your heart is craving. I really look forward to hearing how you go with this process and any updates that you want to share with me. My name is Claire Chancellor from Be Your Purpose Coaching, and I really look forward to talking with you soon. Bye, guys.